So it's been a few weeks or maybe a month since part 7. I do video game reviews in between each video, and instead of committing to a game, I waited for Mario and Luigi Brothership to come out, and I reviewed that. It took longer than I expected to get through the whole thing. On top of that, Thanksgiving was approaching, and I received some bad news about one of my cats. As a result, my sleep cycle has been destroyed, with me having to check on him every few hours. Anyways, so two things I want to go over. The first is that I've been getting away with using footage from the movie, and if I was monetized, I'm sure it would have been copyright claimed. So there are some advantages of being a nobody on YouTube. But the last video had a 3-minute segment that was blocked by Universal, meaning it would not be visible to anyone on YouTube. It was from the point where Cranky Kong was introduced to where Seth Rogen did his dumb laugh. So I re-edited the whole segment with gameplay footage, and it flagged other parts that said I could use them, although it did not flag those segments the first time. Whatever. The point is, it made me think of why it was blocked and why the Mario characters are not quite accurate. It is something I should have thought of. There were probably stipulations that the characters need to be different enough from the mainline Nintendo characters, like Peach with her pink leggings and shoes, or just look at her racing outfit, and then the same outfit from the game. Something similar would be the 25% difference between old Star Trek and J.J. Abrams' Star Trek. That might be an explanation for the major departure from the games, but also some of the characters might be owned by Universal as a result. The other thing is, when I played Brothership, there was a cutscene with Bowser in a head-to-head battle with the antagonist forces, and I immediately thought about the intro to this movie as well as what happened to the Kong army when I watched it. And I sort of have to wonder why we did not get something similar in this movie. I can speculate, and that was to keep the movie cheap, but I kind of wish we got something along those lines in the movie. With that out of the way, let's get back to it. Last time I left off with a fight between Donkey Kong and Mario. Here you can see the tonal shift with Peach and her complimenting Mario on taking a beating.
Was incredible. He kept beating you senseless and you just kept getting back up? You just don't know when to quit.
Then, when Cranky goes over his plan to use a shortcut to get to the Mushroom Kingdom, I can appreciate that they use a map that has a similar appearance of the world map of Super Mario World. The other issue that keeps reoccurring, that I'm sure people might be able to anticipate if you've watched the series, is the use of another pop song, Thunderstruck. Again, it's out of place and music from the game should have been used. The odd thing is, the music that plays as they enter the garage is from the games. So I had this part scripted out, but it was kind of awkward, and I used way too many of the same words, which I probably do a lot in this whole entire script. But here's Toad. And it's probably one of the closest moments to humor that he actually accomplishes. I'm still trying to figure out if he's supposed to be the comic relief because he's not doing anything funny. And this is the closest he comes, is this scene right here. The Koopa General then reports on the spies who were never mentioned before. I mean, yes, they mentioned that they had spies, but they've still yet to show any of them at this point. Knowing exact details about what happened because the writers were just being lazy and needed to add some fake tension by having Bowser know about the secret route. At this point, I'm starting to think Toad is the spy, even though I know he's not. Because this movie can't seem to focus on one character for more than a few minutes and then either transition to another scene or have an action scene, almost like they're trying to hide the terrible plot of this movie by hiding it with visual and audio noise. We go back to Mario and Peach after less than a minute. Yes, I timed it. I think the whole point was to make a joke with the proposal with Kamek in a dress, because the writers could have easily added Peach being spied on by asking Bowser how he knew she went to the Kongs and was returning with an army. I admit that's kind of going into villains ruining their own plans kind of trope by speaking and telling what happened. But since it happened afterwards, it's still kind of in that territory. But it would have been better than just interrupting the whole entire thing with a full-on minute of whatever that scene was supposed to be. One thing that kind of bothers me was the Kongs not using scouts to keep them from being ambushed. I feel like I am overthinking it again, but considering the quality of the writing, it is probably done to create an action scene with the carts. So going back to Mario and Peach, there is a brief scene with Mario and Peach sort of flirting, or maybe Peach is just being curious about where Mario came from. After all, the flashback scene in the field of fire flowers shows Peach coming out of a warp pipe, kind of hinting she might be from the same place. And then there's Rainbow Road, and it would feel like beating a dead horse at this point if I went into it after already mentioning why the carts are in the movie, but we all know why. It's a marketing tool for the games. I'm not gonna get into detail on the battle on the Rainbow Road. I guess it was okay. It is weird to see a cannon shooting banana peels and the vehicle controlled by the blue paratrooper or the Koopa General smashing everything. It is mainly just visual noise. I'm glad there is no whiplash for a solid 6 minutes though. So after the Koopa General's vehicle gets destroyed and he turns into a blue shell, a very obvious reference to the games, I want to point out that Peach, who was in front of Mario and Donkey Kong, Mario gets hit and Peach is more or less unaffected by the blast. I'll admit it's a bit of a nitpick on my part, not to mention the road is destroyed, causing the Kong army to stop and then get captured by the Koopas with air superiority. Remember, this was Peach's plan, and it failed with no backup plan, making her look dumb. When Mario and Donkey Kong fall into the ocean or sea, I'm not sure which, I can't help but think they copied a similar scene from the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie, where Sonic saves Knuckles. I would usually not make the comparison, after all, it's something similar has been done in other movies, but they did something similar later on that reminded me of Sonic 2. After Donkey Kong and Mario fall into the water, they make another reference to the video games, particularly Mario 64 with the eel appearing, just much bigger as per usual in this movie, bringing out those mem berries to sort of entice people or placate them. If you took the scene out where Mario and Donkey Kong argue while in its stomach, nothing would be lost. The whole point was to draw attention to what was left of the cart that was 10 feet away. One YouTuber I watched said it was to bring them closer by talking about their daddy issues. The problem with that, it started the argument, so no, it did not. It was just a lazy way for Donkey Kong to get angry and slam his fist on the eel's stomach, drawing attention to the cart. Just watch the scene.
Just leave me alone. I've never met your dad, but he sounds brilliant. Just go over the corner and smash some stuff, Smash Monkey. I am
now that I went out of scene order again, let's get back to Peach. So Peach speeds to the Mushroom Kingdom, telling the Toads to run and hide. Why they did not do this before is beyond me, and remember, her only plan failed back in the throne room, technically. Mario was the only reason the Kongs were coming to help. This next scene I already covered in a previous video, but I'm going to show it again, just to sort of put emphasis on it. Just watch, you'll get the point.
Princess?
We lost the army, and Mario's gone. Stop!
Who's he?
He's not important!
The scene where Peach goes to confront Bowser is, I don't know how to put it, kind of dumb. Not because she's acting like a girl boss and all that other fun stuff. It's because Toad joins her. He says, I'm never going to leave you, but they quite intentionally make him stay with Peach so the plot can move forward. And they basically do that by torturing Toad with Kamek using his push X to win magic and having Peach fold like origami paper. All this is done in the name of the plot, and honestly, a lot of the actions of the characters in this movie, they are just dumb for the sake of the plot. And this just sort of reinforces it with Toad approaching Bowser with Peach. And Peach, fully well knowing that she'll do anything for the Toads, lets him do it. When it transitions to the dungeon, and again, I will point out that Luigi was done dirty in this movie, but that is far from the only thing wrong with this scene. Kamek shows up and says that everyone is invited to the wedding as sacrifices.
Yes, but you're invited to the royal wedding! Yay! Where you will all be ritualistically sacrificed!
So I mentioned this before in previous parts covering Bowser's character assassination, but I'll say it again. He's a villain, not a monster, even if he looks like one. This is not how Bowser would or should act, even if I were to take into account of the possible, let's say, that 25% difference. So this is going to be a bit shorter than usual, and I can attribute that to the movie picking up pace and the scenes lasting longer than 2 or 3 minutes. So how would I make it better? There is that exception of that one scene that was literally less than a minute, but that's the exception. Sticking with the events in the movie, I don't think anyone can make the carts not be contrived in a Mario movie. After all, the Mario characters were used to help distinguish the drivers in the game. And 2, it added brand recognition. The more I think about it, the less I like trying to even incorporate it into the story. Especially when I don't think the Kongs should be some technologically advanced civilization. So if I were going to keep some similar events as the movie, I would have the Yoshis help out and let them ride back to the Mushroom Kingdom to stop Bowser. In Donkey Kong's case, I would have Plessy take him to the Mushroom Kingdom via waterways. I would skip the whole entire eel part because that was just dumb. If push came to shove and I needed to add the carts, the best I can think of is Donkey Kong leading them to Funky Kong, and because reasons, he would have the carts the party would use to ride on the Rainbow Road to the Mushroom Kingdom. You can still have the battle on the track, just a bit smaller in scale. Lastly, I would have the party arrive just in time to have the giant ship Bowser built in my sort of alternate, I guess, events of how I do it better, and have Peach feeling some despair about failing her people by not stopping Bowser. Mario then relates his failure back in Brooklyn and encourages her to not give up, and they go to stop Bowser and his minions. Anyways, that's it for now. If you made it this far, thanks for watching.